Yes.
Yes.
All right,
Now
cool.
we can start the podcast.
Fantastic.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to that one time We Read Manga, where us four friends decided to start reading manga together and talking about it. The four friends here being Duncan,
Hi.
John,
Hey, yo.
Nate,
What's up?
and myself, Tim. And guys, this week we had a couple of different assignments that didn't totally get fulfilled. Our first assignment was to read One Piece, chapters 1 through 21, that covers the first two arcs, the Romance Dawn arc and the Buggy arc. I have read One Piece before. I've watched a lot of One Piece. I've completely caught up on the manga. And I think this is all three of your first times with it, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
No manga, no anime, zero exposure, except for the fact that I know it exists.
Yeah, this is the single most intimidating thing that I've done with my adult life. And
I agree
I've
with that.
stayed away from it until now.
Wonderful.
I've only been exposed through a friend of mine that watched it, and he liked to watch through fight scenes, but like I don't remember any of the characters. I just was like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, yeah, One Piece. I have very fond memories. I mean, gosh, I started watching One Piece back when it was a 4Kids dub on
Ooh.
WB Kids. In
We don't like 4Kids
2003.
dubs.
No, we don't like 4Kids dubs. But at the time, like, it was awesome because I'm like, I was 6, you know. This is. It was 2003, if I remember correctly. But then, as I grew older, I've went away from it. I could never find it. And then when I broke into the anime manga world, I found it again. Went, oh man, this is so cool. This is so much better than what I was watching as a kid.
Yeah, you have a bit of a appreciation of it when you're an adult, I guess, or like a coherent human being instead of 6.
Yes, and especially because I could still remember some things from the 4Kids dub. Like, there's a character who we haven't met yet who's always smoking a cigarette. But in the 4Kids dub, it was a lollipop.
That sounds like 4Kids, yeah.
Yeah, like it was little stuff like that, and then like reading through this as an adult, I'm like, oh my god, this is a mature show. Like this is gonna get wild.
Would you say that the manga is a lot darker than the anime, but like it follows the same kind of story?
No, I would say the manga has details in it that they just can't put on TV, but they keep the mood. Like the anime does a really good job of keeping the mood of certain things without going as graphic as the manga does.
So would that be like characters getting brutally killed that
Yeah,
didn't
so,
happen on
like,
screen, but it happens like in a panel in the manga?
There's going to be a time, and I'm not going to spoil any characters, but there's a time where a dude gets shot in the face with a cannonball, and in the manga, literally half his face is missing.
Sick.
But in the anime, he's just bruised up a little bit. So
I mean, there was one panel in like the second or third chapter where a dude just gets domed.
Yes.
And there was no strings held back there. That was pretty metal, if you ask me.
Yeah, so I wanted to dive in real quick and just get everybody's first reactions, because this is the part I've been excited about. Like, I've been wanting everyone to read One Piece with me for a very long time. So we'll just go around the room. Duncan, John, and Nate, what were your guys' first impressions?
I'll go first. I really enjoyed the first 20 chapters. I think that it being like pirates and stuff is really cool. I've been into together collectively. We've been really into like sea shanties and playing pirate video games and such recently.
Right.
So it's kind of a nice continuation of that mood. And
Hell yeah.
the characters seem interesting. It seems like, I mean, I know it's popular because it has 1,070 something chapters, so it's got to be doing something right.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, I would agree with that. John, what were your first impressions?
Yeah, I think it was like fun overall. Like I was hesitant, obviously. Like you've been asking me for years to read this thing, and I just didn't want to make the commitment to it. And now you've coerced me into doing so. But I mean, overall, like I think the manga is the way to start with this, because obviously the show is intimidating as all hell if you haven't watched it before. And I definitely think there's like there's a nice vibe that the manga has. Like it's really a relaxed tone. I don't know if relaxed is the right word, but like it's a really goofy tone that it kind of has to it. And like I'm sure it will get much more serious as we go, but like we saw hints of like some serious stuff happening.
Oh yeah. Chapter 1, man.
Yeah. Like it's definitely an entertaining manga to start out with, and I mean I'm really enjoying it. Like honestly, enjoying it so far.
Hell yeah, Nate, what do you got?
So going in this, all I knew was I noticed the pacing on the anime was a little slower for my taste, and I thought I might get into this if I tried reading it. And then I found myself getting completely engulfed in this because, as you said, we've been into the sea shanties and being pirates and things, and I'm sitting here giddy of like, oh, they're assembling the crew, and I'm like wanting to turn to the next page, and I'm like, I want to pick my phone back up to read more. I'm pleasantly surprised at how much I'm enjoying this.
Hell yeah. I'm giddy. I am so giddy that I finally am convincing 3 of my best friends to read something I've been doing for years, and finally I'm gonna have someone to talk to about. And our one friend Chimpo, like obviously he's into it as well, but I've only known him for about a year. Every time we start talking about it again, I get sidetracked. So this is a dedicated discussion to it. I'm very, very excited about. Not to just bombard you guys with questions. We'll get into like a little bit of a timeline of what exactly we covered. Actually, no, let's do that first. Let's get into what we covered. So we covered the first 2 arcs. We kind of lined up nice, 21 chapters, 2 arcs down. Like in a series that is spanning over 1,000 chapters, we're already 2 arcs in. We're great. This is the easy part though, because these arcs are only going to get longer as we go on. I think the next arc, when we read it, is 20 chapters itself. So. But it's definitely probably one of my favorite early ones that we'll get into. But these ones, we've already been introduced to so much about the world, right? It's the great pirate era, the Romance Dawn arc that kicks off the whole series. Great pirate era from Gold D. Roger is kicked off. He's executed. He's not important yet. That's a lie. He's the most important character in the whole show. But he... So yeah, he's executed, but he kicks off the Great Pirate Era. Luffy, a young kid of 7, decides he wants to be a pirate, and he's arguing with Shanks to take him onto his boat. Shanks refuses. Somehow, we don't even actually get to see it, but Luffy eats the devil fruit, Gum Gum. The Gum Gum devil fruit turns him into a rubber man, which I think is just awesome.
There was one page, one little picture. He was holding it.
Yes.
That was it.
Yeah, there was one panel, because I had to backtrack after he said that he ate it, and I was like, I swear I saw that panel somewhere, and I agree. I did see that same one, yeah.
Yeah, you don't see where he got it from. You don't see, like, Shanks doesn't mention it. Shanks the pirate, he doesn't mention it, nothing. He's just, he has it, he eats it, and he's like, I made a rubber now. Like, oh, cool, I guess. So yeah, without going too deep into like just laying out everything, but these first couple chapters really just set up the world. So right away we know it's a great pirate era. Everybody wants to be a pirate. Luffy is a fun little kid, we'll say. He's kind of dumb, kind of doofy, really emotional. Like I remember reading it the first time, and I'm like, boy, he just turns on Shanks instantly. As soon as Shanks gets like beat up by that bandit and doesn't instantly murder him, Luffy's like, yeah, Shanks was a pussy anyway.
I mean, kids do be like that.
Yeah, he's 7. Yeah, but so yeah, it sets up the world, and if obviously we're introduced to devil fruit, like that's a new thing. We don't have that in the real world,
They
unfortunately.
give us like pseudo superpowers, basically.
Yeah. It's gonna be a long time to try and keep it spoiler free, but it's gonna be a very long time before we get a true explanation of where devil fruit come from. Like here, they said it came from the Gum Gum tree. And I think that was Oda's, the author's, way of just being like, yeah, I don't know. It's a special fruit, gives you powers, whatever. It grows on a tree.
Yeah, I didn't even really question where the devil fruit came from. I mean, obviously it comes from something, but I that wasn't even, as a first-time listener or reader, I don't think that was really even in my mind yet. Like, I was really just kind of accepted it as it was.
Yeah,
and
it's just a thing that gives you powers.
Yeah, it's just a thing that gives you very super specific powers, like, as we'll get on to here in a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. And now, way to go. You kept it spoiler free, but now I'm wondering, where the fuck did these things come from?
You will forget about them. But
why do they make it so that you can't swim? That's so weird.
Because it's a curse. You're gaining like ultimate power, and the sea is pissed. Like that's the pirate lore. The pirate explanation is like you gain this ultimate power, and the sea is cursing you for it because it's an abomination against.
I love it.
Well,
Yeah.
shit.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
I think it's so cool. I think that's a perfect like handicap too, because if you could have these ultra powerful beings, right, like a rubber man who also can swim, it's like that's a little overpowered. Like there would never be any conflict, right? But now you're gonna be a pirate and you can't swim. Holy shit.
I guess there has to be some sort of trade-off.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There has to be. And it's honestly, it's the only one that makes sense. If you're going to be a pirate, what's the one thing you need to know how to do? You know how to swim. Granted,
I really like. Oh, go ahead.
I was
Sorry.
saying, granted, Luffy didn't know how to swim before he ate the devil fruit, so it didn't really matter.
It
But,
didn't really lose much.
yeah. But anyway, what were you saying, Nate?
I really like, because of that curse, what it will do to the gravity of the situation. For example, when Luffy was just like hanging onto that bird over the sea, and I was like, dude, if he falls.
Yeah, if he lets go for a second, like he's dead. He's dead. We
Yeah.
have no idea where he is.
He's done.
And I think we even saw part of it too. I want to tell you real quick. Luffy is probably one of my favorite shonen pro tags ever. And in the first chapter, I think it was, he's in the barrel, or he's getting sucked into the whirlpool, and he's just kind of like, "Oh, I'm getting sucked into a whirlpool. Oh no, I'm getting sucked into a whirlpool." And it's like, you fucking idiot. And of course he's like, how am I gonna get, like, he doesn't seem very concerned given the fact that he will die if he touches the water. Like, it's kind of weird, but I love him as a character because that will be a theme going forward. He will be in imminent danger and just not be phased. Just kind of like, oh, okay.
I like him a lot as a shonen pro tag because he's very obviously a shonen pro tag because he gives me big Naruto vibes, but he's actually kind of likable.
Yes.
Whereas Naruto, in my opinion, was always just kind of insufferable. Like basically the entire series until near the end.
All right, we're gonna have a problem.
When it got good.
When it started getting good, yeah.
Yeah, it started getting good right at the end.
We will be reading it at some point in time, probably. So you shut your whore mouth.
Then he'll have a
Fair
new
enough.
appreciation for it.
Yeah. I've read a couple of the manga chapters, but it was mostly absorbed through TV for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, Naruto, we'll get there. Like, I couldn't watch that show. I had to read it because I can't stand the voice acting.
Yeah.
So, One Piece, real quick. Not real quick. This is what we're here to talk about. We meet one of Luffy's earliest friends in Kobe on that Alvida's pirate ship.
Oh, the dude with glasses?
Yeah, little kid with glasses. One of Luffy's earliest friends and a sniveling little brat who wants to join the Navy and be a Marine officer. But he's too cowardly to do anything about it. And I think this is definitely one of the most important early characters in this series. And I want to see if you guys caught this, but it gives us a perfect look into the exact type of person Luffy is with his friends.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, like, I think we did a good thing by not staging everything. So I don't know what exactly you're getting at, but I mean, I do think that Luffy seems like the type of person that would not forget a friendship. Or I'm completely wrong, and he is one of those that will forget who this guy is entirely immediately. But
Nope.
I think like this is kind of like part of his personality. Like, you know, and he said in there, like, you know, whether we're enemies or not, like, we'll be friends for life or whatever it was. I mean, I definitely think that, knowing shonen has how it generally is and how a lot of the pro tags are, I think he's gonna come into play at some point later on in the future, and I definitely think that that's gonna be a running theme. Like, Luffy's probably gonna have a lot of friends. That's how he's gonna succeed.
I mean, yeah, if you know shonen, you know that they all have the power of friendship, and in One Piece, the word for it is nakama, which also translates to crewmate. So so that's going to be, or family. It also translates to family, crewmate, friend, that kind of thing. So it's going to be a running theme. But no, Kobe is very important because it shows Luffy can also be friends with someone who has the exact opposite dream of him. Luffy's dream is to be king of the pirates. Everyone thinks he's insane. Kobe wants to be a marine officer, and Luffy doesn't bat an eye. He's like, cool, yeah, you can do that. He's like, but we'll be enemies. He's like, so? Who cares? We'll be best friends.
That's a problem for future me.
Exactly,
well,
yeah.
The exact instance I was hinting at, and we're kind of jumping towards the end of the Romance Dawn period arc for this to happen, but when the Marine officer or the Marine guy asked Kobe, like, hey, is this your friend? And he's like, no, I don't know, or whatever Kobe says. And then the Marine officer's like, is this true? And then Luffy just turns around and fucking decks him in the mouth and just walks away from him. And then Kobe's laying there like, oh my God, he did it to save me. And I'm like, what? He's like, they'd arrest me if they knew we were best friends. So he just punched me to prove that we were enemies. I love that, man. And I'm like, wait a minute.
I love that because it just shows that I think it was almost a callback to how he didn't understand as a kid how Shanks won that fight with the what was it, the Mountain Thieves, I believe?
Yes, yeah, Mountain
Bandits. And then it shows that, like, as he grew older, he kind of understood that there's multiple ways to go about things, even though Luffy's still pretty dumb.
Oh yeah, he's pretty dumb, but there's one thing he'll understand. It's friendships and how to make them work for his favor. Also, I just remembered what Duncan was talking about like the third chapter, or no, in the first chapter, that dude getting iced. And it was that dude, it was after the bandit pointed the gun at Shanks, and then he goes, it's really dangerous to point a gun at someone, and then Shanks' crewmate just fucking blasts that dude in the side of the head.
The big dude with the turkey leg.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit, I forgot that happened, and when I read it again, I was so happy.
That was a great panel.
I was like, yes!
Oh,
got it.
Speaking of panels and artwork, I love the centerfolds that they do. Those are so cool.
Yeah, their centerfolds.
That big kick was amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. They are tough on the phone because you got to kind of like half turn the page on your phone to get the whole picture, but they are awesome when they does them like that. Oda is an amazing artist. There's one. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's just placed perfectly enough. They're not like in every fight. They're not in every other chapter or anything. I think we've seen like 2 or 3 maybe in the first 20 chapters. They're always perfectly placed right when they need that extra emphasis. And it's so good.
I will say it comes into play a lot with Luffy's powers because he's a rubber man, so he stretches a lot, and he'll add a very nice centerfold to show how far Luffy's limbs are stretching for a punch or something. It works out really well going forward.
I like that a lot. I love the emphasis that it adds.
Yes. Yeah, it is very... again, Oda is one of my favorite manga artists out there. It's a very simplistic style because it's, I say simplistic, not like... I don't mean to make it sound, sound bad, but it's like it's not JoJo levels of shading and detail, but it's enough to where you're like, oh, I know exactly what this would look like in motion. You know?
Yeah, but he does a good job of making good white space. Well, good use of his white space, and his line work is really good. So it's like the scenes make sense.
Yeah, and they go together really well.
I think you were on to exactly the right thing there, because like I have maybe watched, I don't know, a handful of clips just from people, maybe you or my brother, showing me of One Piece action, but like as I'm reading through it, like I can very, very clearly like understand how the animation would lay out for each one of the panels. Like there's not really anything that's missing. Like, yeah, there's a couple skips here and there, but that's more so like from a narrator standpoint. Like I understand there's some skips, but like in the action, like I don't exactly know the voices that are applied to it. I know that what the voices are in my head, which is weird, but
yeah, that's funny. Your Luffy sounds a lot different than my Luffy.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. He sounds like a really aggressive Dale Earnhardt.
Oh my!
An even more aggressive Dale. Oh god.
So wait, he's Nate's dad?
No, but yeah, like I can very clearly, like when I'm looking through, like just for example, right now I have the panel up where like he uses his gum pistol for the first time on that like sea monster. And like I can definitely imagine how that would play out, and I haven't seen it. I have no context to go off of, but like it's very clear with the art style how everything lays out, and I like that.
Yeah, Luffy's oldest enemy, the sea monster that took Shanks' arm.
Is that a thing?
I was trying to figure out how he lost his arm in that panel. I had to reread it like 2 or 3 times, and it just had to assume that it was the sea monster that took it.
Yeah, it was. Shanks dove in as that monster was chomping down on Luffy, and it got his arm. And, I mean, the first time I read that, I was like, dude, seriously, the most powerful character we've been introduced to so far has already lost an arm. Oh, no.
Yeah.
This is not good. This does not bode well. I mean, yeah, gosh, there's just so much to go on. We haven't even gotten to, like, the bulk of the Romance Dawn arc yet. Like, the whole premise of the arc is literally just to set you up in the world and also to introduce you to the first mate of Luffy's eventual crew. But there's just so much in that first chapter. I mean, it was 54 pages. It's the longest chapter, I think, in the whole series.
I sure hope so.
It's hard to memorize. It's hard to memorize exactly how long all 1,073 chapters are, but 54 pages. I think that's up there as like the longest or one of the longest, if not. So yeah, there's a lot going on in those first chapters. Again, we meet Kobe, jump ahead, but yeah. So the bulk is Luffy obviously wants to set off and find a crew. Does anyone remember? Does he say how many people he wants to find, or is that an anime thing?
I don't think he says how many. I feel like at some point he said something about 10 people would do it, but
yes, yeah, that's okay. That I remember seeing that moment in the anime, but I don't ever remember reading it. Even just as recent time, it must have just glazed over. I thought it was maybe just an animeism where they just added it for foreshadowing or something. But yeah, so he wants 10 people to join his crew. And he hears of a guy called Roanoa Zolo, or Zoro, if that's easier for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I was wondering that because just my limited knowledge, I was like, I'm pretty sure this guy is like Zoro in the anime.
Yes, yeah, it's Zoro in the anime, but that could also have been it could have been a victim of the R to L translation in Japanese.
Yeah.
Which is a little unfortunate, but I still refer to him as Zoro in everyday life just because Zolo doesn't sound right, but I knew him as Zoro first, so.
Okay, yeah.
Unless there's any purists in the chat, I'm going to call him Zoro. So yeah, he hears about Roanoa Zoro, an infamous bounty hunter of like a pirate hunter specifically. And for some reason, Luffy thinks that dude is the exact dude I want on my pirate crew. I have no idea why, but he gets to the town that Zoro is in, and they see that he is being tied up to a post in the middle of a Navy base and is starving himself because of some bet he made with the captain's son. And he immediately goes up to him and asks, hey, you want to join my pirate crew? And Zoro does pretty much everything short of spitting in his face. Like, no, I'm not doing that. I hate pirates. Blah, blah, blah. You know, the same attitude anybody would have in this moment. Excuse me. So, yeah, that's how we first meet Zoro. He's tied up, beat up, and starving. Doesn't make him out to be this huge badass, you know, right away. But he comes around, obviously. We wouldn't have a show otherwise.
I like that they included a little bit of backstory for him. Like right off the bat. We didn't have to wait for it.
Yeah, right off the bat. Like, what is Zoro's motivation? Oh, it's this.
Yeah. Like just enough tragedy to make it kind of spicy.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And his backstory is definitely one of the ones where I was like, "Aw, poor guy."
I mean, it was, with all things considered, really, really goofy. I mean, like, obviously, like, if you're listening to this, you may have some contextual knowledge, and if not, and if you haven't realized that there's going to be spoilers so far, I guess spoiler alert.
Oh God, yeah, you made it 25 minutes into this thing and didn't realize there was going to be spoilers. It's on you at this point, man.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's on you. Like, you're the goofball that decided to listen this far and thinking you wouldn't get spoilers. I don't know.
When did One Piece air? Or
1999.
Yeah, it's been 20 years.
Yeah, like, go fuck yourself. Like, it's been...
It's almost been 30.
It's been most, like, a standard third world lifetime.
Bro.
Since... But, I mean, no, like, so... I don't even remember what I was getting at. But, yeah, like, his backstory was really interesting, but it really just gave you all that you needed to it, and I think it gave you a little bit of context to what's to come. And once again, if I hit this on the head, great. I didn't spoil it for myself, I just have an assumption. But with Luffy wanting to be the greatest pirate of all time, the pirate
king of the pirates.
Yeah, the king of the pirates, all right. And then
get used to it because that's his catchphrase.
Yeah, I know. And then Zoro wanting to be the greatest swordsman of all time. I kind of feel like this is probably going to be a theme with the shipmates that come aboard the crew. I might be wrong here, but I feel like this is going to be a bit of a theme. But I mean, all of it sourcing from him having a friend that fell down the stairs. That's pretty goofy.
I mean, yes, but that's not the takeaway from it. It was that he could never beat her in sword combat, and then she dies before he ever could, so he is, egg in the win column against her, and now he'll never get the chance to prove that he's better than her.
Yeah.
That, I think, is the bigger takeaway, other than my friend fell down and go boom. Like,
well, I mean, they did make the promise to each other that one of them would become the best swordsman of all time. And, I mean, obviously that set it up perfectly for her to decide to fall down some stairs.
Tragedy happens instantly, yeah.
She, quote unquote, fell down some stairs.
Yeah, if I had to guess, she... there was something
threw
going on there. Somebody pushed her downstairs.
Oh, I thought you were going to say she threw herself down the stairs to never have to beat Zoro again.
She had such a problem with going through puberty and becoming weaker than a man. She threw herself downstairs. That was it. Yeah.
I do respect that he carries on her legacy by using her blade in like the three blade style.
I was going to say, what did you guys think of the three sword style? Like, I thought it was fucking cool, but I also get that anybody would think like that's pretty dumb.
I don't know how he talks while holding a blade in his mouth. That's
he's the best swordsman ever.
I mean,
that one's a little sus.
Yeah, like it was. It
well,
was
you
more
can
so
hold
connecting
something in your mouth and like still kind of talk. It's not going to be fully coherent.
Yeah, I mean, people use chewing tobacco all the time.
That's different than a whole ass sword hilt.
I mean, debatable. Have you tried to dip a sword in your front lip?
I can't say I have. No.
No, I haven't either. No, but like I thought once again, like I think for anybody that's jumping into reading manga, or like watching this in the anime for the first time, they have to, after all this time, they have to have some sort of context. Like you don't just go this long without ever seeing anything from One Piece, and I think that seeing him use 3 swords, like his 3 sword technique, I think that was like one of those moments where I was like, oh, it's that guy. Like, that's the dude that we're talking about. Because, like, obviously I've seen pictures of him and stuff, and it looks really cool. But then when you see him do it for the first time, and I'm like, oh, that's that guy with the swords.
Yeah, you don't recognize him at first, and then you see his trademark pose, and you're like, oh, okay.
Oh, this is the guy who had the drink named after him at that Shonen Jump place we went to in Tokyo. That's right.
You guys would know about that. I wouldn't.
I don't remember that.
I don't know. I'm just making some shit up.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. For context, if you have any questions, if you're a weeb or anything, me and Duncan went to Tokyo and spent Christmas together there. We were actually on a deployment with the military.
Gay.
Yeah, I know, right?
6 years ago, I think.
Yeah, fuck. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
Really dating ourselves there, but yeah. So whatever drink Duncan's talking about, I mean, we ate Naruto ramen, so I guess that's cool.
We did.
cool.
It had a little Naruto face on the cracker in the ramen, and some Dragon Ball Z themed drinks as well.
Yeah, Tokyo is pretty much live experience anime. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
That's all you need, really.
Yeah.
That's great. So find out Zoro's tied up by the captain's son, Helmeppo, who is a little shit. I hate this character. There's no redeeming quality to him other than he's an annoying prick. But he does, Luffy gives him his comeuppance by punching him in the mouth in the middle of town. And then he immediately runs to his father. Duncan, do you remember the name of the captain?
Captain Morgan, the greatest of all time.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because, like, no shit, there was going to be a Captain Morgan reference in here, but I didn't think it was going to come in the first 10 chapters.
Well, everyone knows the spiced rum, Captain Morgan, but I also happen to be married to
Captain Morgan's daughter.
Captain Morgan's daughter. So that's fun.
That's a ton of fun.
Yeah, that's a lot of Captain Morgan you got going on there.
Exactly.
It is, but a lot.
I love his design in this series, though. He looks so fucking cool.
Does he look different than the anime?
No. He looks the exact same in the anime. The character design doesn't change. But I just mean, like, you see Helmeppo, this scrawny little blonde pom-pom dude, and then you see Captain Morgan, and you're like, what the fuck happened to this guy?
I assumed
Meppo's his son, right?
Helmeppo's his son, yeah.
Yeah, okay, got it.
I assumed he was a redhead, because all redheads are bitches.
I just assumed he was, well, okay, yeah, I see what you did there.
All right, yeah, we can stop with that.
Careful, you're going to make the ginger snap.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
That's a real knee slapper there, bud.
Hell yeah.
What a merry gang of jokers you are.
Hell yeah, dude.
I really thought I had something there.
Good one there, bud.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Captain Morgan and his son, like, his son is obviously a big old bitch, but, Captain Morgan, for some reason, and once again, I'll keep on going on this theme probably for a while of putting things into context. I actually thought that, like, meeting Captain Morgan, I thought it was going to be like this. I thought he was a much bigger deal going into this. Like, I didn't think he was going to be, like, the first enemy. Like, I guess the second. But I thought it was, like, going to be a really big deal when I met him in the thing. But, yeah, I mean, he was cool, though. If nothing else, like, he was really cool. I mean, and he's great. Very cool if you didn't get that, he's great. He's really great.
Yeah, well, and, I mean, the axe for a hand, and the handle is like his elbow, so he could grab it and, like, slam down. And he's got a metal bottom jaw for some reason. Like, none of those are explained, by the way. He just has those things.
Yeah, I thought that was like a devil fruit thing, because obviously, like, kind of getting into devil fruit and trying to figure out what that is. I was like, oh, cool. He has like an axe devil fruit. And like, no, I guess he just has an axe for an arm.
He's just a guy.
He's just a guy, yeah, who lost his arm allegedly. Yeah, I love his design, but yeah, and again, first time going through it, I thought he was going to be a really big deal too. Spoiler warning, he's not.
No.
Luffy kind of dispatches him pretty quickly, gives him a thing for it. But I do want to talk about one moment, and that is Luffy gets Zoro's swords for him, right? He says, "You give me my swords, and I'll help you out or whatever. I'll consider joining your crew." And Helmeppo, of course, is a bitch, goes back on his word, and he's going to execute Zoro way ahead of schedule and doesn't really care what anyone has to say about it. And at the very last second, Luffy jumps in as everyone fires and absorbs all the bullets. And that's when everyone notices that he's a rubber man for the first time. And everyone's face, Kobe's face, Zoro's face, the Marines' faces, it is hilarious. Like, those reaction shots are some of the best in all of One Piece. The jaw drop, eyes bugging out, just those are a constant in Oda's manga, and I love it every single time.
It was really entertaining with that, I think that was the point where it might have been a chapter afterwards, but that was the point where I realized, like, okay, Captain Morgan's not a big deal, because if he didn't identify that there was a devil fruit, like, that was what was at work, like, obviously he's not a big enough deal, because I at least know that that's kind of a thing in this show.
Yeah, devil fruits are gonna, if someone comes up and has a devil fruit power, 9 times out of 10, maybe 7 times out of 10 more, like, they're gonna be like, oh, whoa, watch out for this guy.
I somehow get the feeling that we're going to run into people who have devil fruit powers that are just dog shit.
Well, and that actually, I want to take a quick break, and I wanted to ask you guys each individually, if you could eat a devil fruit, would you? And what devil fruit power would you want?
What are our options? I mean, so far we only know about the...
Think of anything. Think of anything in the world. Like, what power would you want? If a devil fruit could give you the power that you want, would you eat it, and what would that power be?
So we get any superpower, basically, but we lose the ability to swim.
Yes.
It doesn't even have to be really super. It's just kind of
a power.
Just something. Oh.
And this is an unfair question right away, because, again, we're going to learn a lot more about devil fruit going forward. But just like of your basic understanding of devil fruit, i.e. getting superpowers, what one would you eat if one was presented to you?
This might be a question that could be asked like every other episode or something, because I feel like this would change, especially with time to think about it. To start off, and maybe 5 seconds from now I'll think of something better. But honestly, I think maybe not rubber specific, but if that's what it is, that's fine. But I think the rubber thing is really cool, mostly for unsavory activities.
You're gross. You are gross.
I'm just saying.
Go
like,
back to 4chan, you weirdo.
I'm just saying, like, if I can stretch many body parts as far as I want to, I would definitely strangle a deer while I'm hunting. That's what I was getting at.
Strangle a deer.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, now you're getting weird with that.
Yeah,
okay, so I'm gonna.
This isn't Beastars.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say electricity, like static shock kind of powers.
Okay, like lightning, lightning, or just electricity.
Like electricity, where you can control, like the power of different things and harness the electricity from power lines and stuff. Because that's all he does is like a transfer of energy, basically.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Static shock confirmed in the One Piece universe. The crossover is complete. Avengers take a backseat.
Finally.
Right? Yeah. Nate, what would you choose?
So I'm kind of noticing. I mean, we've only seen these 2 devil fruit, but it seems like they do something with like configuring your body in a certain way. So I was thinking something cool would be like if I was made out of steel. I suppose that would be kind of cool if you could just like
that would be rad.
like either steel or rock or something. Like that would be kind of neat.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's.
I mean, I'm gonna sink anyway, so if I could like be steel
Exactly.
and
You don't
just
have to
like
think like, oh, I wouldn't be able to swim. Bitch, you wouldn't be able to swim anyway.
right?
Oh man, that is fun. It is kind of funny though, because watching. I'm gonna go off on a little bit of a tangent, but watching like My Hero Academia, I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, what would the devil fruit for that be called, and what would the devil fruit for that be called? Because I mean, you kind of get the sense of it, and Nate alluded to it, but the second devil fruit we meet is the Chop Chop fruit. So all of their names kind of give you a hint to what their power is. Gum Gum makes you a rubber band, basically, think of it like that. And then Chop Chop, and you chop you up. Yeah, of the two we know, because I know a lot more actual devil fruits, but I would choose Chop Chop over the Gum Gum fruit. I think that's a way cool power.
Doesn't that imply that like you would want to be in combat regularly though? Because I'm just trying to use this for my leisurely activities. Like,
no, you could use the Chop Chop fruit for anything. I could be sitting here and mixing a drink with my hands in the other room. You know what I mean?
True.
Like,
that's very
I don't have,
okay,
to, I don't have
right.
to stretch around corners. My hands will just detach and go do that.
Okay, I was totally thinking the other way. Like, if I cut you in half, you would still be fine. Like,
I mean, that's
Okay.
a plus. That's certainly
Yeah.
a plus.
I mean, yeah, I guess for those of you that are worried about getting cut into pieces in your lifetime.
Right. Well, and think I could never be in a real car accident because okay, yeah, my body would get flung through the windshield. Then I could just detach. I could shatter on the ground, and everyone would be like, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, "I'm fine."
Oh my god, you have it. Like, that's it, because Formula One racers or like NASCAR racers, they make a lot of money, but they have to be careful with how they race. But if you could just take all the chances that you want in, I guess, any sport, it doesn't matter because you got the Chop Chop fruit.
You could just throw a football with your hand and then control it in the air.
Oh my goodness.
God. Yeah,
Right?
I would take the Chop Chop fruit every day. Oh, again, of the only two, these are the only two devil fruit we know, and we haven't even talked about who has the Chop Chop fruit. But yeah, I would definitely pick that one over Gum Gum. Now, granted, I'm not saying that Gum Gum fruit is bad. Being made of rubber would be dope for a lot of other reasons. But I think Chop Chop would be like the car wreck example. Like if you're made of rubber, you're just gonna bounce right off that. You're gonna bounce out of the. You bounce off the road and just stand up and be like, I'm good.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you'll never experience blunt force trauma again.
Basically.
You would never be shot again because the bullet will just kind of absorb into you. All you would have to avoid is getting cut.
As a regular victim of blunt force trauma, I definitely agree with that, and I would love that.
Yeah.
I get hit with a hammer every day. It's terrible.
Yeah, it would be great. You need to divorce your wife, dude.
Yeah, I was about to say the same shit.
Yeah, if that's what's happening at home, you need to get out of there. Oh shit. Okay, so hey, we fought Luffy fights not we didn't do anything. Luffy fought Cap Morgan.
It felt like I was there.
Yeah, I know, me too. But he beat him up. Helmeppo got his comeuppance, and Morgan's driven out. We got a really good look into the dynamic of the One Piece Navy, how there's good Marines, bad Marines. I mean, Morgan was having the people build statues of him, and he was forcing them to pay incredible taxes. Like, it was really
Totalitarian.
Yes, thank you. God, I'm bad with words. But then as soon as he's gone, all the Marines are like, oh my God, we're finally free. Like, he was just as cruel to us as the people. They even let Luffy and Zoro go. They're like, hey, look, because you helped us out, we'll let you go. But you are still pirates, so you can't stay. So get out of here.
And then they all saluted him, and the one dude, the lieutenant that was in charge, was like, all right, that was a violation of orders. We don't get dinner for the next week.
Yep, that's it. You all saluted a pirate. No rations for a week.
That was so funny. I laughed so
Yes.
hard at that line.
Yeah, there is a lot of great comedy. That's one thing I really appreciate about this manga, is that there's a lot of comedy in it. Like, it has its moments, but there's a lot of good comedy sprinkled in.
I think a part that I really liked that was I laughed pretty hard at just how easy they kept just walking over the wall just to go see Zoro. Like they just kept going to be like, all right, well, I gotta talk to him for a second. And like even a kid just went over. Like there was nothing at all.
Not a big deal. Like there's never a door established on the outside, but people just keep climbing the fence or whatever. Like what the hell? What kind of bullshit security is this?
Yeah, nobody even noticed at first. Like they were just hanging out with Zoro for a little while, and it wasn't until bitch made bitch boy got punched in the face, and then they were like, "Oh, we got to make a big deal out of this." Like,
yeah, whoa.
Yeah, nobody gave a shit.
Yeah, but I love how Morgan treats his own son too, because he goes crying to him, and then he just punches him in the face again. He's like, "Do you really expect me to fight all your battles for you?" Because if I'm Captain Morgan, I am extremely disappointed in Helmeppo as my son. That dude is a sniveling little bitch.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, his haircut alone said what he was all about. Like as soon as I met him and like with him saying like, "I'm gonna tell my daddy on you," like you knew what it was about. And honestly, it wasn't a surprise for me when Captain Morgan punched him out of being just simply pathetic.
Yeah, just
like,
being weak.
Yeah, and that's what, like, I don't really care about pro tags, and tags, like, I mean, that's what I liked about this whole, like, mini arc right here is, like, yeah, at least Captain Morgan's a fucking man.
Yeah, and that's clearly what is important is just, it doesn't matter as long as you're strong. That's all that matters here. So yeah, that wraps up. I mean, that pretty much wraps up the Romance Dawn arc. Luffy and Zoro sail away on their little dinghy, and they say goodbye to Kobe. They punch,
Kobe.
Luffy punches Kobe in the face. You son of a bitch.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah, R.I.P. Rip. So yeah, punches Kobe in the face. Kobe immediately enlists into the military at the ripe old age of 10. So, yeah, we're looking good here.
If I could have enlisted in the military when I was 10, I definitely would have done it. Like,
I also probably would have done it.
Yeah.
Because at the age of 10, I was like, I'm gonna be the sergeant major of the army. Like that's what I thought. Like,
yeah, and
so I get it.
I actually don't know if Kobe's 10, but he certainly looks 10. He's small. He's probably closer to Luffy. He's probably 16, honestly, now I'm thinking about it. Because Luffy's 17 going on, and I don't think Luffy's not the kind of guy to befriend a 10-year-old without coddling him, you know?
How many people are underage in this anime? Or this manga?
That's a weird question.
Uh-oh.
Well, a lot. Yeah, Luffy's 17.
Because there's a character we'll meet soon that I was thinking some thoughts about, but never mind.
I'm sorry. I'm going to hear you're going to hear me typing. So Zoro is 19. Luffy is 17.
Wait, hold on. Zoro's 19?
Yeah, Zoro's 19 years old.
That guy looks like he's 35.
Yeah, welcome to One Piece, bro.
Jesus.
Yeah. Shoo. Yeah.
He looks old for me, and I'm a fucking old man at this point.
Yep.
All of us
Luffy was born May 5th and is 17 years old.
Okay, but he was born May 5th in, like, the 1500s?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so he's, like, 700 years old.
I mean, yeah, if he were alive today.
All right, so it's all good.
Yeah, or
if this podcast were recorded in 2020, 23.
What?
You
It's
said 700.
right
1500s plus 700.
Hey, check it out. I don't do math that good, all right?
All right, well, some of us have to do it for a living.
For context, Shanks is 37.
When?
Like,
at
all
what
right.
point?
Like when we meet him.
Okay, so
well,
he's 47
fuck,
after
dude?
the 10-year gap.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. He's 27 sorry, I misread it. He's 27 in the flashbacks when we meet young Luffy. Luffy's 7, he's 27.
All right,
Okay.
then my misconceptions aside, like, he shouldn't have called a 10-year-old his friend.
What's
Or
wrong
a
with that?
7-year-old.
You can
Yeah,
be
you
friends.
shouldn't have.
You can be friends with
Yeah,
kids.
that's kind of weird. Yeah, no, you can't.
And we're not here to talk about it.
I'm here to talk about it. That's a
Also,
variety issue.
I'm glad that you gave me the pronunciation for Luffy's name because I thought it was Luffy for a while.
You bastard.
Well, I didn't know.
To be fair, it is a long U, and then we meet one of the next characters, Buggy, who's the next big antagonist, Buggy the Clown, and that is a short U. So yeah, I kind of get where the mistake would come in.
I liked Buggy a lot. He's very
Buggy's
funny.
a very good antagonist, and so Luffy and Zoro sail off. They wind up on this island, wherever it is. I don't remember. A lot of the island names aren't important, and this town name isn't that important. But yeah, they run into Buggy after meeting Nami, who Luffy thinks is a great navigator and wants her to join the crew. But she's actually a burglar. She's like a Catwoman. She's a cat burglar and only steals from pirates. So again, another anti-pirate character that Luffy thinks would be perfect on his pirate crew.
Which, if I gotta say, Nami has a great personality, and regardless of how old she may or may not be, she's it seems to be a great character to go along with this crew. And I have no further thoughts.
She's 18. You're allowed.
All right, yeah, she's fucking hot.
Yeah, it's canon. She's 18. It's cool. All those people out there who are like, yeah, she's only 16 pre-times. No, she's 18. Oda confirmed it.
We probably had to.
I mean, yeah, you can't keep drawing Nami. There was a point. Never mind. It doesn't matter. There was a joke that Oda said, which was like, there's some scenes with women that he'll draw and, quote, get a nosebleed while drawing.
Lol.
Oh my god.
And I'm just like, yo, you're disgusting, man. But hey, if you want to draw sexy women, write your own manga, I guess. Hey, there it is. You do whatever you want. They're your characters. So Nami's 18. We meet Nami. She's a cat burglar who only robs pirates. And Luffy thinks that's a person I want on my crew. He also somehow finds out she's a great navigator. I don't exactly remember. She said she's trying to get to the Grand Line, which is our first little instance of like Luffy going, hey, that's where I want to go too. So we actually have a goal in mind for Luffy, not just assemble a crew, but a destination. Which is a big deal. Like the Grand Line is a big deal. I mean, it's grand.
Whoa.
Like 100 grand bar?
In a couple of chapters, we're actually probably going to, maybe not a couple, but probably within the next arc or two, we're going to start seeing like maps of how the world is actually laid out. So I won't get too into it right now, but the Grand Line is like a really big deal. Like it is the destination. If you are in this pirate era and are wanting to be a pirate, you have to make it to the Grand Line. He finds out that's where she wants to go. She stole a map from a pirate named Buggy, who is our brand new antagonist. But this arc is a little bit murkier than the previous one, where Zoro was reluctant to join Luffy. Nami is downright antagonistic towards Luffy. And for the longest time, I hated Nami. I thought she was an annoying bitch. Because she keeps going back and forth of like, oh yeah, I'll help you. And then no, screw you, you're a pirate. But I get it. Like, her whole thing was pirates killed someone she liked or something like that. No, someone close to her. I won't belittle it, but
they haven't really expanded on yet. I'm assuming that they will more in the future.
Maybe. We were kind of lucky with Zoro. We got his backstory and motivations right away. But again, he wasn't antagonistic towards Luffy. He just didn't like the idea of being a pirate till Luffy saved his life, and he's like, all right, fine, I guess I could be a pirate.
Well, since he's not a 35-year-old man, I guess it makes more sense for him to go on an adventure with a 17-year-old boy. So,
as a 19-year-old, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes more sense now. But,
yeah.
No, I definitely, I could see how you would be annoyed with Nami to start out with. Honestly, like, for me, it was kind of not a breath of fresh air, but more of like a bit of, like, enthusiastic comic relief. Like, Nami was fun because like you didn't really know which way she was gonna go in every different panel. Like after she kind of betrayed but then not betrayed, then betrayed again with Luffy, between him and Captain Buggy. I keep on wanting to say Boogie. But I mean,
the clown.
I know. Yeah, going back and forth between that though, that was a lot of fun. I mean, I like Nami at least so far. I
appreciate her more now. When I was first going through it, and especially if, again, watching the anime, she is much more insufferable. And first time reading, I was like, this bitch, why does Luffy even trust her after that? But going back, I appreciate her more, and I understand more why she's doing what she's doing. Again, though, I have context that you guys don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On my third read through of the early chapters and stuff, like this is, I just have context you guys don't. So the fact that you all aren't immediately annoyed with her is actually kind of refreshing.
I mean, I can't understand her motivations just based off of the limited information that I have right now. So she said she doesn't trust pirates and she just wants to steal from them. So she is working her own interest basically the entire time in any way possible.
Yeah.
One thing I pretty much see, and this is just obviously my observation, but it's almost like everybody in this series is a different form of a pirate. Like, I mean, like she steals only from pirates. Well, I mean, that's still kind of piracy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like Zoro, he only kills pirates, or he only goes after pirates with a bounty on their head. Like, that's still kind of in the same line as piracy. And then the Navy, they're just like scummy shitbags. So,
some of them.
Yeah,
we saw that dynamic early, which was like, look, yeah, there are some bad Navy dudes out there, but there are some good ones, and there are some who are just going to follow orders. Like, it's very much you can't blanket everybody in this series, no matter what. Like, even the Navy, no matter how scummy some of them are just dudes who like thought they were going to make the world a better place by joining up the Navy. You know?
Yeah,
familiar.
Yeah, well. Yeah.
Which brings me to a question which doesn't have to be answered right now. I mean, if you're listening at home right now, I don't know the context that goes into it, but like, is this like the World Navy, or is this a certain part of the world? Because I feel like after going 1,000 episodes or 1,000 chapters, like I feel like this gets way bigger than what we currently see.
Yeah, so I can't speak to what Oda's scope was at this moment, but I will just tell you, this is the World Navy. Like, there are outposts all over the world, and it's the same Navy. There's a Central Navy HQ that covers things from all over the world. So,
that's pretty cool.
It gets big. It's very organized, but again, at this moment, I don't know if he had that kind of foresight for that. But it's not a spoiler to say that this is the World Navy.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and this is the only military we'll see. There's not going to be like an army's not going to show up later. Like it's the Navy, and they have their Marines. That's it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fun. I do love how they all wear hats that say Marine on them, though. Cause
that's kind of fun.
I feel like we should have had that. That should have been the actual uniform in America.
Yeah, just big old hats that say Marine on it. Yeah.
I mean, that's like the uniform of Marine veterans.
True, but I don't have a hat like that yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. So Luffy and Nami meet up, and she's like, hey, I'm going to go rob this buggy guy. And she's like, you can help me. He's like, all right, cool. What do I do? And she just ties him up. She's like, yep, and sit right there, and I'm going to give you over to Buggy, and he's going to trust me, and then I'm going to rob him blind. And we meet Buggy, and Buggy is probably one of my favorite characters in the whole series.
Buggy's a fun guy for sure. Like he's fun, especially for the second person, at least as far as we know at this point. Being like a devil fruit, I don't know, eater or
user.
User. Okay, user. But yeah, he's definitely a fun guy, and like it actually took me a while to kind of understand what he was about as far as like his devil fruit goes. But yeah, he was really entertaining. The arc went on slightly longer than I expected, but I mean, when it comes to shonen anime or like the manga or the anime, like however it goes, like yeah, you expect to have a longer arc. Like I felt like it dragged out for a little bit, but it was entertaining the entire way through.
I liked him as far as a villain goes. I mean, they set him up really well for being a tyrant of this town and just being like, well, no one's gonna do anything, quite obviously, because of, well, as it's been our favorite phrase, load the Buggy-Ball.
Load the Buggy-Ball.
No, the special Buggy-Ball.
Yeah, that was a pretty massive display of power, and for that to be like that this early on, I can only imagine what shenanigans happened later in this manga.
Yeah, they were leveling like entire blocks with single balls. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had Luffy in a cage, and he was just gonna blast him dead in the face with one. Like, I don't care how much rubber you're made of, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
I also wanted to point out it's gonna become a trend of Zoro and Luffy being separated, and then meeting up, and then separating, and then meeting up. Like, it is very everywhere they go, Zoro gets lost somehow, some way. It's a whole thing. But he shows up just in the nick of time, and one of the chapters actually ends with Zoro cutting Buggy in half, and then he's like, "Huh, that was too easy," and a couple of Buggy's crewmates start laughing. Reading it for the first time, what did you think in that exact moment of like, oh, they just killed this guy?
I kind of thought that it was, and I shouldn't have thought this because I know how manga and anime work. I kind of thought at first, I was like, oh, okay, so this guy has a weird power, but it's not really substantial at this point. Because I did think that he was done at that point. But it was really surprising to see what happened afterwards, like when his hands started operating kind of on their own and stuff. I didn't know where it was gonna go, but I didn't think that Buggy was as big of a deal as he actually was at that point.
Yeah, anyone else care to chime in and say, like, at that moment you think, oh man, he just cut Buggy down, and a couple guys kind of snickered, but you didn't have like any real hints. I mean, we kind of saw his power earlier, but it didn't mean that Zoro couldn't cut him in half, right?
I think I have JoJo to blame as for, I was like, oh, his power doesn't activate until he dies. Yeah, so I thought, I was like, oh man, what's gonna happen now? Does he like split into two clowns and like he becomes his own circus? I didn't know what was gonna happen.
That would have been such a cool power, though.
Yeah,
just
right.
Cloning yourself and have an army of Buggies, that would be nuts.
Oh no.
Oh my god, that would be so terrifying.
I certainly thought that something was gonna happen. Like Nate said, he was gonna multiply or do some crazy shit.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, what he did end up doing with his chop fruit powers was pretty crazy.
Yeah, instantly just gashes Zoro in the side. And you're kind of like, whoa, what the hell? And I didn't mean to skip over this. This is actually a pretty important moment. Buggy forces Nami to light the fuse that's going to blow Luffy up before Zoro gets there. And she's hesitating because she's like, oh, I don't want to kill because then I'll be just as bad as the pirates. And Luffy's just kind of berating her like, well, that's what you get for not being prepared.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like... All right, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was just going to finish the line, which was like, she's like, what, prepared to kill? He's like, no, prepared to die. Like me.
Yeah, and I felt like that one was one of those, like, I'm sure in the anime it's a little bit different, but for the manga, like, I kind of glanced over that at that point. And it actually was, like, the dialogue that brought me back to it, because I didn't realize that she had wit it also. Like, she was actually going for it, or at least how it seemed.
Well, one of the pirates came over and was like, here, girly, let me show you how it's done.
Well, then here we go. Kids, this is how you read manga. You got to pay attention to every fucking bit of it.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, that works. Funny how you got to read words on a page.
I think it's the pictures that really do it, but okay.
You were just staring at her chest, and then you were like,
Okay, I've seen fan art. All right, I know what this leads to. And
You shouldn't have.
We're not at that point yet.
So yeah, then,
Can't wait.
But then she does a really cool thing, and she grabs the fuse. Anyone ever been burned by a firework while they were letting it off?
Absolutely.
Nope.
Sparks come back and burn you a little bit. Yeah, that shit hurts. And to just grab it and grab it hard enough to stop it, that shit hurts. And then Zoro shows up and cuts Buggy in half, and turns out he's not dead. Buggy is a great early villain because it shows the scope of the pirates that we're going to be running into, assumedly, from here on out. Like, these guys are taking over towns. The next guy we'll see take over multiple towns. The next guy we'll see, that's not 100% accurate what I just said. I don't want to give anything away, but like, you will see the scale go up and up and up and up. So Buggy took over a town. The next guy will take over 10 towns or 20 or whatever,
The
next cannonball is going to wipe out 5 cities.
Exactly. The next cannonball is going to be a meteor that the guy can summon. Like, it's going to be nuts.
Yeah, I mean, if at this point, like, if you're into manga or anime, you probably have something to reference off of, and it always scales up. So that's kind of what I'm expecting at this point. Like, I'm expecting this guy to be able to level a city street. Next guy to level a town, next guy to level a city, and then the next guy is like, holy shit, there's something coming from space.
Yeah, I mean, the next big bad always has to be bigger than the previous one, right? Otherwise, there's no, like...
There's no stakes.
Yeah, there's no stakes. Like,
Yeah. And it's, again, I'm not going to give you guys the exact scaling, right? Because I do know where we're going next, and I'm not going to give anything away on that. But the fact that you all have manga and anime knowledge, that things scale up. The fact that we're starting with a guy like Buggy who introduces other power users, introduces just being able to demolish entire blocks. And also, I think they introduced the power level system with Buggy. How people gauge their power levels in here. I think
it's over 9,000.
Almost.
If they did, I'm not sure. But you might say it, and I might understand.
Yeah, I didn't specifically pick up on.
Did they mention anybody's bounty specifically? Like, did Buggy go?
Oh, that's right. They did mention bounties.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's our power level system, boys. The higher the bounty on their heads, the more powerful they are.
Oh,
that makes sense.
This is why Buggy's such an important character, because with him, gets introduced all these things at once. The world is bigger than just, devil fruit that Luffy accidentally ate. And it's like, yeah, they're incredibly rare, but that doesn't mean the people who ate them aren't still out there somewhere, right? So we run into another power user. We run into someone bragging about his bounty. I think it was like 100,000 or something bounty. And, that's supposed to be the scale. So Luffy's bounty is 0. He's a nobody. I think it was Buggy. Buggy's is like 100,000 because he's conquered a town. Yeah, he's conquered a town. And I'm probably wrong. I forget I didn't write it down, and I should have.
That sounds right.
I'm going to start doing that from now on. I'm going to write their power levels down. But yeah, that's going to be important scaling wise. So when we run into another guy who's like, "Oh, my bounty is 1 million," it's going to be like, "Whoa, like that's nuts." Or the first time Luffy gets a bounty, and whatever that number is going to be, that's going to give us a little bit of an insight of like, "Oh shit, that's how strong this guy really is."
Yeah, and then they're gonna start arguing in bounties. They're gonna be like, "You don't have the berries to mess with me."
Exactly.
Yeah, the currency is berries.
Yes.
So good.
It actually took me a while to realize, like, I was really confused about the whole berry situation. I didn't understand that was a currency. I was like, okay, yeah, Luffy's a hungry guy.
I was like, these Neanderthals dealing food.
Still in the bartering system. Get with society.
Pirates are stupid. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So yeah, very important first step in Buggy. And Even Zoro gets a little bit of the limelight, not just against Buggy, but against his second mate. Because the first mate, Luffy absolutely decks. Because he hurts the dog. I love the dog subplot, by the
Chow
way.
Chow, yeah.
Yeah, the little
Big
Chow
fan.
Yeah,
Chow.
Chow Chow was awesome.
Don't you talk shit on Chow Chow. He's my favorite character so far.
I would never.
Yeah,
The goodest boy.
the best boy. I love, but again, we get more of a backstory of Chow Chow than we do Nami at this point.
We do, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Just a little
Oh my god, you're
flashbacks
right.
with his
There's like a
owner.
whole arc on Chow Chow.
But I also feel so bad for the dog because his owner's just like, all right, boy, I'm going to the doctors, and then he dies. He never comes
Yeah,
back.
that's
Like,
tough.
that's rough, man. And the dog guards it, and that lion tamer dude fucks that dog up. And Luffy, he burns it. He burns the store to the ground after fucking the dog up. And that's when Luffy snaps and absolutely pretty much murders the fucking guy so hard that he can't even warn Buggy that he's coming. He's like, rubber.
Oh, the Buggy
gets
thinks the
rub out.
masseuse is coming after him.
Yeah. A massage therapist is on his way.
That was so good.
Oh, Jesus. Buggy's a funny guy, too. Like, I also love his tick of, like, don't mention anything about his nose in his presence or any nose. Even a guy who's like, as you well know or something, he's like, did you just say I have a red nose? He's like,
Yeah.
no, I didn't
Rubber
say that at all."
nose?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it was, he's such a funny character. My original point was going to be even Zoro gets some limelight against the circus freak trickster swordsman who has all these weird tricks and stuff going on. Pretty much exactly how Zoro's fights are going to go from here on out. Not to give anything too much away, but like they're going to do a lot of crap to him, and he's going to be like, crap, how do I win? And then they like clash, and then they're going to fall over. That's just a formula.
He just cuts him right in half.
Yeah, pretty much. No, that's not true. That doesn't always happen. But it is fun. I love seeing Zoro get it. I even love the fact that Luffy could clearly step in and help Zoro at any moment, but he's giving him the trust to say, like, no, do it yourself. Like, you're supposed to be my first mate. You're supposed to be almost as, if not as strong as me, so you better be able to handle it. Otherwise, I'm going to... Luffy never says anything of, like, if you don't do this, I'm going to leave you. But it's almost implied of, like, dude, if you can't handle this, then I don't want you by my side later. When shit's going to get real. It's a little implied. And that might just be me reading too much into it, because Luffy never says that. Throughout the whole time we read this story, he will never look at one of his crewmates and go, hey, if you can't handle this, I'm leaving you behind because you're weak. He's just... But he trusts them enough to be able to say, like, all right, you can handle this. I sure hope you can, at least.
Yeah, that very well may be it. I mean, the way that I read it was definitely more on the lines of, like, Luffy being oblivious. Kind of, like, just assuming that he can handle it or so. Like, and whether, obviously, like, you have more context than I do, but, like... I mean, for me, like, I'm just kind of going back to, like, Luffy's character, and he's like, yeah, like, this is my pirate crew, and even though I only have 2 people, or 3, it's the best in the world. Like, they're gonna be fine. Like, that's kind of, I feel like he's more oblivious than most people would be at that point, but, like, that's not a knock. It's just, like, I feel like that's kind of Luffy's character at this point.
It really proves that blind confidence can get you.
Yes.
Very true.
Very true.
It could almost help you start a podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to make it work one way or another. And,
How long does it How long does it take to start a podcast? Approximately 2 weeks.
Approximately 2 weeks if you already know what you want to talk about. So yeah, it was very fun to see Zoro fight, Luffy fight, get all in, and then they save the town, and the townsfolk are all happy, and the mayor comes running after them, and all this stuff. It's a good feel-good. Nami ends up coming with Luffy, but not as part of his crew, only as like, hey, we're both trying to get to the same place, so let's just stick together for a little bit.
She's just trying to play hard to get. We all know it.
Yeah, she definitely takes more convincing than Zoro. And again, because of the context I have, it makes sense. But like blind going into this, it's like, what the fuck? Like, dude saves your life like at least twice during this whole thing, and you're still like, I don't wanna.
Yeah.
I'm definitely noticing a theme that when Luffy leaves anywhere, it's always just an uproar of whatever the hell he's doing to cause mayhem.
Yeah.
And it's like sprinting away.
Yeah, like they're chasing him out of town because he knocked the mayor out because the mayor was going to get himself killed trying to fight Buggy. But it's just like, there's so many other ways you could have done that, but it's the only way Luffy knows how to do things. And then he knew the townspeople wouldn't like him and they wouldn't, ever want to see him again, but he doesn't care. He's not coming back here.
I don't know, and I'm sure we'll cover this at some point in the future, but I think the mayor kind of reminds me a bit of like a Hercule figure from Dragon Ball.
A little bit.
Yeah, like he's like that guy that thinks he can do so much, and then he is just way out of his scope. Like, cause he's a fun guy. Like, it actually took me a while to kind of understand like where this guy's coming from. And I was like, oh, cool, another really powerful guy. And then, nah, it's just a dude with a stick.
Yep. Dude with a stick who thinks he can do it all. Yeah, but, you need people like that to really give these guys like Buggy and his crew, at least some of his top crew, scope, give them scale. Show what normal people can do against him, and then show what Luffy and Zoro can do against him. You know what I mean?
That's very true.
There's one thing I do love about this manga is that Oda does a really good job of showing us scale all the way, whether it's through the berry bounty system or just by having regular people caught up in all this. You really get to see like, oh shit, these guys are like deities walking around. These aren't just, oh yeah, he's kind of powerful. These dudes are like monsters. It's safe to say Buggy is pretty much a monster.
It definitely gives me that feel that anyone that has a devil fruit is like automatically way above like the average mortal per se.
Yeah, like somebody that has a devil fruit that's not as nitty gritty specific as like Buggy's, because I feel like they're out there, and I mean, I'll stop saying it soon enough, but like I don't have the context to really understand, but I feel like there's probably somebody out there that has way less specific or way more intense devil fruit out there. Like I feel like Buggy's was pretty goofy overall, but I think that there's some big stuff coming.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, I don't want to give anything away, no spoilers for me, but it's just gonna keep getting. It's just gonna go up from here, admittedly. Like everything is just gonna start going up and up and up, and obviously, it's gonna reach a point where you guys are like, I don't understand where they can go from here, and trust me, there will come a point where they're like, where do they go from here? There is a place they go from there. It's just, no matter what, there's a next step. There's a next step. Clearly, you can't write 1,000 chapters if you don't always have somewhere to go. And I think that's the benefit of making this like a pirate. Oda has never specified how big the world truly is. You will see maps of it and stuff, but you will never get an idea of like how many islands are there, how many towns, any of that. You'll never get that. You'll never see a globe. Let me put it that way. You see a lot of maps. You'll never see a globe.
Interesting.
So the world is just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's awesome.
And flatter and flatter.
And flatter and flatter and flatter.
Yeah. No, it is
as
proven,
we know about the Earth.
Well, actually, it is proven in this series that the Earth is round. You can circumference the entire world.
Well, Tim, that's because this is imagination.
Yeah.
All right.
Of
Somebody
course in the
created
fake
this.
world.
All right.
Yeah, in the fake world, it would make sense for it to be round, but
All right.
here in the real world,
truly believes that the Earth is flat. put your hands down, get off my fucking podcast.
In an audio medium, you'll never know.
If you didn't watch our video version of the podcast, then you don't
have.
know which one that I put up.
We don't have.
You don't have to tell them that.
They need to know. All right, fellas, I got one more question for you, and then we'll talk about what we're gonna read next, and then we'll get out of here. Is that good, or do you guys have more to say?
Nah, that's great.
No, I'm pretty good.
Oh, I have one
said
thing.
my
I like
piece.
Bucky's crewmates pretending to be unconscious.
Yes. Just, they're all like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
if we get up, we're screwed.
Yeah. There were several panels every once in a while dedicated to that. I appreciate it. I thought it was funny.
Yeah. And that's another way to show scope is like, there's the captain of a crew, there's the first couple of mates, and then there's the riffraff, like the people who joined up with Buggy because he's powerful, that also show like, oh, wow, they're having a tough time with just the nobodies. I can't wait to see how powerful the captain is. You know what I mean? So
The riffraff to me basically reminds me of like the extras in Dynasty Warriors. Where you can just wipe them all out.
And you know what? Unironically, Nate, that is what makes the One Piece Pirate Warriors games so much fun. Because you play as these devil fruit wielding monsters and just go through hundreds and thousands of these nobodies. And then eventually you run into another captain with a power user that has a health bar. And you know, if a Warriors game, a character has a health bar, he's a big deal.
Yep.
Oh, man. So, yeah, that is fun. I'm glad you brought that up because, yeah, the riffraff are perfect for Dynasty Warriors games and also add some scale to each crew. Because, again, if the riffraff are competent, then watch out for the captain because he's about to be a bastard.
As Joe Rogan would say, he's going to be a motherfucker.
Yeah, he's going to be a motherfucker. He is going to be a motherfucker. So, all right. So my last question for each of you would be, what or who? Actually, yeah. Let me say who has been your favorite so far, like character-wise. Doesn't matter if they're good guy, bad guy.
Chow Chow.
Okay. We got to vote for Chow Chow. I love it.
I definitely think
like-
Nami, but no specific reason. Mostly because she has a great personality, and I
Dude,
think
I
her
know what I'm
scope.
getting you. I know what I'm getting you for your birthday. I'm gonna start sending you Nami statues.
I think her
outta here.
her personality is really going to work well in the pirate world. She has good intentions, and I think she is right for everything that she wants to achieve.
Okay. I mean, yeah. Okay. I mean, it's okay to have Nami as your favorite character. It doesn't have to mean anything.
You're damn right it is.
I definitely love Luffy, but we're going to see more of him. So for now, I'm going to say Chow Chow because the amount of respect that the entire town had when they're like, wait a minute, Chow Chow's protecting them? They must be good people.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
Really speaks to being dog people. If you're not a dog person, why are you listening to this podcast? Like,
Dogs always know best.
I mean, dogs are really the best thing that humans have at their disposal.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense.
So checks out.
Personally, I'm giving my vote to Buggy. Buggy's my favorite.
Buggy's funny, for sure.
Yeah,
I did like
Buggy's fun. I just love the clown thing. Like, what made him, like, what would ever make you want to be like, I'm going to be a pirate, but I'm not just going to be any pirate. I'm going to be a clown pirate.
That kind of speaks to the goofiness of this manga, because, like, I don't know. For some reason, I would think that a clown guy with a devil fruit would be, like, I don't know, halfway through the show, like, just kind of a weird spinoff of what you've seen before, but like instead it's the first thing that you're exposed to and you're like, oh, okay, so this is how this manga is gonna go.
Yeah, you're instantly like, oh,
we're just gonna get real weird with it.
Yeah, anybody can be a pirate. Anybody can be a pirate, and it'll all work out. All right, well, hey fellas, so if we wanted to, we're gonna continue reading One Piece. Yes? No?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I've gotta know who else is gonna be in this crew.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
have a
for sure.
We have a long way to go, but the next arc, funny enough, so we got through 2 arcs this time, reading 21 chapters, and that's great. The next arc is called the Syrup Village arc. It is exactly 20 chapters long. It goes from chapters 22 to 41. I think that's good. I think we could all do that, right? In about
Perfect.
a week
Yeah,
or so.
absolutely.
All right, so yeah, we'll go read chapters 22 through 41, and if anyone wants to read along, that's our pace. You know, it's gonna take a while, but we got nothing but time. I mean, that's why we started doing this, right? Because we could do it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, you know, if you're counting arcs, it would be fine. We could start going by sagas. This is called the East Blue Saga. There's 100 chapters all together. We could do that in a week.
We could, but what? But we should we?
I guess I'm gonna have to eat the reading devil fruit so I can read a bunch.
The read.
Yeah, the read.
The read fruit. The book fruit. Yeah. Oh, that would be a good one.
the book
No,
fruit.
I feel like the book fruit is just instantly being able to write a novel. Just like, oh, I just wrote a best-selling novel. Easy. Never running out of ideas.
I take it back. I think I'm gonna have the book fruit.
That would be a perfect fruit to have. Well, fellas, I think it's time we got out of here. What do you say?
I'd say so.
All right. Well, yeah. Thank everyone so much for tuning in and listening about that one time we read a manga. Have a great, I don't know, week, year, whatever.
Live, laugh, love, and
Right,
listen.
Live, laugh, love, listen. And no one's doing a fun fact today, so see you next time.